Have you ever made yourself smaller so someone else could feel more comfortable? Lowered your voice, second-guessed your opinion, held back an idea, said, "It's fine," when it wasn't. Or perhaps you've waited for someone to notice you before allowing yourself to be seen. We learn so many ways to make ourselves smaller. Don't be too much. Don't speak too loudly. Don't ask for too much. Don't take up too much space. But what if taking up space doesn't mean becoming louder? What if it simply means allowing yourself to exist fully, to have an opinion, to have dreams, to have boundaries, to have joy, even to be seen, to be heard, and to be exactly who you are without constantly wondering whether you're too much? Perhaps that's the final kind of courage August is inviting us into. The courage to stop shrinking. Welcome to Gentle Truths with Delia, beautiful souls. A space where we pause, reflect, and realign one truth at a time. This month has been about quiet courage. Not the kind of courage that needs applause, but the quiet kind. The kind that asks you to begin again, to trust yourself, to release what you've been carrying. And now, as we come to the final week of August, I want to talk about something that can be surprisingly difficult. Taking up space. Not demanding attention, not proving your worth, not becoming someone you're not. Simply allowing yourself to be fully present in your own life. Because sometimes we spend so much time becoming who we think we're supposed to be that we forget to become comfortable being ourselves. There's a difference between being humble and making yourself invisible. There's a difference between being kind and constantly putting yourself last. There's a difference between listening to others and abandoning your own voice. And sometimes we become so accustomed to shrinking that we don't even realize we're doing it. We apologize before we've even spoken. We minimize our achievements. We hesitate to share our ideas. We wait for someone else to validate what we already know. We say, "It's probably nothing. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm overthinking. It doesn't really matter." When actually, it does matter. You matter. Your voice matters. Your dreams matter. Your presence matters. Taking up space doesn't mean taking space away from somebody else. There is room for you. Room for your ideas. Room for your laughter. Room for your ambition. Room for your softness. Room for your boundaries, and there's even room for your joy. And perhaps the most beautiful part is this. You don't have to earn the right to exist fully. You don't have to become more successful, more beautiful, more accomplished, more healed, or even more confident. You don't have to wait until you become some future version of yourself. You're allowed to show up now, as you are. And maybe quiet courage isn't always about doing something frightening. Maybe sometimes it's simply walking into a room without wondering whether you belong there. Speaking without rehearsing every word in your head. Accepting a compliment without explaining it away. And saying no without writing an essay about why. Celebrating yourself without feeling guilty, or wearing what makes you feel beautiful. pursuing something that excites you, laughing loudly or dreaming boldly, resting without having to earn it first, or taking up space without apologizing for the space you occupy. So this week, I want you to stop asking, am I too much? And start asking, am I being fully myself? Because there is a difference. And perhaps the man or woman you've been becoming isn't asking you to shrink anymore. They're asking you to arrive. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately wondered whether you belonged there? Maybe everyone seemed more confident or more experienced, perhaps more successful or more accomplished. And suddenly you started questioning yourself. But belonging isn't something someone else hands you. You don't have to wait for an invitation to be worthy of occupying your own life. You're allowed to be here. You're allowed to learn. You're allowed to contribute. You're even allowed to be seen. And perhaps belonging begins when you stop asking, do I fit here? And start asking, can I be myself here? Because the right spaces won't require you to abandon yourself to belong. So this week, walk into one space without shrinking yourself. Repeat today's daily affirmation. I belong in the spaces I am brave enough to enter. I belong in the spaces I am brave enough to enter. Where in your life are you learning to feel more comfortable being fully yourself? Some people enter a room and immediately command attention. And some people speak quietly, listen deeply, even think carefully. And when they finally speak, there is something worth hearing. Quiet doesn't mean weak. Gentle doesn't mean powerless. And you don't need to change your personality to make your voice matter. You simply need to trust that what you have to say has value. You don't need the perfect words. You don't need everyone to agree. You don't need to sound like anyone else. Your voice is yours. And the world doesn't need another version of someone else. It needs you. So today, share an opinion, idea, or thought without immediately minimizing it. Repeat today's affirmation. My voice matters, and I trust myself enough to use it. My voice matters, and I trust myself enough to use it. When was the last time you spoke up for yourself and felt proud that you did? I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139, verse 14. There are things about ourselves we sometimes spend years apologizing for. Things like being sensitive or being ambitious, sometimes needing quiet or having boundaries, wanting more, changing our minds, taking our time or even being different. But what if some of the things you've been taught to apologize for are actually parts of yourself worth celebrating? You don't need to apologize for having a voice. You don't need to apologize for having dreams. You don't need to apologize for becoming someone different from who you once were. And you certainly don't need to apologize for taking care of yourself. There's nothing wrong with becoming more comfortable in your own skin. Catch yourself apologizing unnecessarily today and replace it with a simple thank you. Repeat today's affirmation. I embrace who I am with grace, confidence, and gratitude. I embrace who I am with grace, confidence, and gratitude. What's one part of yourself you've learned to appreciate more as you've grown? Being seen can feel vulnerable because when people see you, they can also judge you. They can criticize you and even misunderstand you. And sometimes it's easier to stay hidden. But hiding protects us from rejection while also keeping us from connection. What if being seen isn't about showing everyone everything? What if it's simply allowing the people who matter to see the real you? Your humor, your opinions, your dreams, even your imperfections, your joy, your softness, as well as your strength. You don't have to perform. You don't have to prove. You simply have to show up honestly. Because the people meant to walk alongside you shouldn't require you to disappear first. So today, allow someone to see a little more of the real you. Repeat today's affirmation gently to yourself. I am safe to be seen as I truly am. I am safe to be seen as I truly am. What part of yourself are you learning to show more freely? Why is it sometimes easier to celebrate everyone else? We can cheer for our friends, celebrate their achievements, tell them how beautiful they are, remind them how far they've come. But when it comes to ourselves, we say, it wasn't that big a deal. Anyone could have done it. I'm not where I want to be yet. But today, I want you to pause the goalpost. Look at yourself as you are. Think about what you've overcome, what you've learned, what you've changed, what you've survived, and what you've built. And allow yourself to say, I'm proud of me. Not because of everything being perfect, but because you kept becoming. So today, I want you to celebrate one thing about yourself without adding a disclaimer. Repeat today's affirmation. I honor my progress and celebrate who I am becoming. I honor my progress and celebrate who I am becoming. What is something about yourself that you're genuinely proud of today? There's so much pressure to be everything. The perfect parent, the perfect partner, the successful professional, the supportive friend, the strong one, the reliable one, the one who always has it together. But you are human. You don't have to be everything. You don't have to show up perfectly in every role. You don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to solve everyone's problems. You don't have to exhaust yourself proving that you're worthy. Sometimes taking up space means taking up space to rest. It means space to breathe, space to simply exist without producing something. Your worth doesn't disappear when you're not performing. You are enough, even when you're doing nothing at all. So today, give yourself permission to rest without feeling guilty that you need to earn it. Repeat today's affirmation. I am worthy even when I'm simply being. I am worthy even when I am simply being. Where could you give yourself more permission to simply be? We've reached the end of August, and look at what we've explored together. Beginning again, trusting yourself, letting go, and now taking up space. Perhaps all four were really pointing towards the same thing, which is really coming home to yourself. You don't have to become louder. You don't have to become harder. You don't have to become someone else. You simply have to stop abandoning yourself in order to be accepted. So walk into your life. Take your seat. Speak your truth. Celebrate your progress. Protect your peace. Make room for your joy. And let yourself be seen. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will choose you. Not everyone will agree with you. And that's okay. You don't need everyone. You need to know yourself. And perhaps that's what quiet courage really is. The ability to stand comfortably in your own life without constantly asking permission to be there. Do one thing today that feels authentically, unapologetically you. Repeat today's affirmation. I take up space with grace, courage, and authenticity. I take up space with grace, courage, and authenticity. What does taking up space mean to you now? As we close August, I want you to think about the man or woman who began this month with us. Perhaps that person needed permission to begin again. Perhaps they needed to hear that their inner voice could be trusted. Perhaps they needed permission to put something down, and perhaps now they're ready to stand a little taller. Not because they have everything figured out, but because they know themselves a little better. They trust themselves a little more. They carry a little less, and they're becoming a little more comfortable taking up space in their own life. That is courage. Not perfection, not certainty, not having all the answers, just the willingness to keep showing up as themselves. So as August comes to an end, don't ask yourself, have I become everything I wanted to be? Instead ask, am I becoming more of who I truly am? If the answer is yes, celebrate that. Because becoming isn't a destination, it's a way of living. This week, notice where you make yourself smaller. Do you apologize when you don't need to? Do you hesitate before sharing your opinion? Do you perhaps minimize your achievements, or do you say yes when your heart is saying no? Do you wait for someone else to validate what you already know? Simply notice and then try something different. Speak, choose, celebrate, rest, say no, damn, say yes, laugh, dream, show up, take your place. Not arrogantly, not loudly, just fully. The take your place practice. So this week, each morning, I want you, before you begin your day, to stand for a moment with both feet firmly on the ground. Take a breath. Lift your shoulders gently. Release them. Look at yourself, or simply close your eyes and say, I am allowed to be here. I am allowed to be here. Then ask, where can I show up more fully today? Perhaps it's a conversation, or a meeting, or even a creative idea, or a boundary. Perhaps it's even a dream, or simply allowing yourself to enjoy your own life, whatever that may look like. And then at the end of the day, ask yourself, where did I choose myself today? And celebrate the answer. My letter to you this week. Dear beautiful soul, as August comes to a close, I want you to know something. You don't have to become smaller to be loved. You don't have to silence yourself to belong. You don't have to hide your light. And you don't have to wait until you're perfect before you allow yourself to be seen. I've spent enough of my own life learning that lesson to know sometimes the greatest act of courage isn't changing who you are. It's finally becoming comfortable being your authentic self. So take up your space, not at someone else's expense, but without apologizing for your existence. Let your laughter be heard. Let your ideas be spoken. Let your dreams have room. Let your boundaries stand. And let your joy be visible. And when that little voice whispers, who do you think you are? I hope you learn to answer. Someone who finally knows that they are allowed to be here. Keep becoming. Keep choosing yourself. Keep trusting that gentle voice within. And most importantly, don't dim yourself simply because someone else hasn't learned how to appreciate your light. With love. Our signature truth for this week. You were never meant to spend your life asking permission to be yourself. You were never meant to spend your life asking permission to be yourself. My blessing for you this week. May you find the courage to stand fully in who you are. May your voice be steady. May your boundaries be honored. May your dreams have room to breathe. May you celebrate yourself without apology, and may you find spaces where you can be both soft and strong. May you never confuse humility with shrinking. And may you remember there is room for you, room for your voice, room for your dreams, room for your joy, and room for your becoming. You don't have to be more. You don't have to be less. You simply get to be you. We began August with the courage to begin again. We learned to trust the wisdom within us. We learned to release what was no longer ours to carry. And now, we're learning to take our place. Not louder, not harder, just more fully. Because perhaps quiet courage was never about becoming someone else. Perhaps it was about becoming brave enough to be exactly who we are. Thank you for walking through August with me. Thank you for sharing your reflections, your stories, your vulnerability, and your beautiful words. And as we step into a new month, take the courage with you. Begin again when you need to. Trust yourself. Release what no longer serves you, and never be afraid to take up space in your own life. You belong here. Stay gently aligned, beautiful souls, and I'll meet you here again next month for another chapter of Gentle Truth with Delia. Take care. Ciao.